Hi, Paul. You asked me what it means that Soros is adding to his short position in the market. In my opinion, and in all of academia's opinion, it means that he's a foolish investor. And I think the guy's an idiot. There's no empirical data, no evidence, no academic research to support market neutral position or shorting the market like that. It's an effective way to manage money. He has no idea what's going to happen. He's not pulling strings. He is taking a guess. And by the way, he's so wealthy, him with that many positions is equivalent to my several $1,000s that I'm using to be a fool and try to time the market by picking individual stocks myself. Okay, and I want to illustrate that with data, with evidence. So what I have in front of me is a number matrix, so a returns matrix of the S&P 500 from 1926 through 2012. This shows a real rate of return, which means we've adjusted it for inflation. This is what it looks like. Okay, so all these are individual years returns. Okay, there we go. It finally adjusted. So as you go down one side of the axis, you pick a year, and then you go down this side, and you can pick any time frame you want. Or you can just look at an individual year. Let's look at 1946. And in 1946, the market lost 22%. If we go up to 51, it made 17 that year. Okay, and again, this is just the S&P 500. So I want to point out a couple things. First of all, I want to point out that there are black numbers and there are red numbers on this matrix. Black numbers signify a positive year's return, and then red numbers indicate a negative year return or a time frame. Okay, so if we're to back up, let's just take a look what's gone on in the United States economy since 1926. Well, we sure do have a lot of positive years returns and a lot of time frames, certain periods of great returns, and very few negative year returns. In fact, there are no 15-year time frames that took a loss. You cannot find a 15-year time frame in the stock market where you would have lost money. There are only two 10-year time frames in the stock market where you would have lost money, and they were both recent and back-to-back, right down in here. Okay. The other thing I want to point out is we follow the matrix down from 1926 down through 2012. The annual rate of return for the S&P 500 over the last 90 years is 6.7% adjusted for inflation. That's about 9 or 10% if we take inflation out of the equation. Okay? I'm showing you this because I want you to understand that capitalism works. And a free economy can work. A free market economy can work. They do work. Okay? Is there some corruption going on? Absolutely. Can we control it? No. We can't do anything to control any of that. But we can play the game. Okay? We can play the game with them. I also want to show you a portfolio of a nice old couple that lived down in Boise. These people, and I want to compare it to the S&P 500. So before I talk about their portfolio, the talking heads, all the idiots, the media talk about 2000 through 2008 or 9 or 10 as the lost decade. The reason why is if we look at the bottom line, that's the return of the S&P 500. If we look at 2000, this portfolio, the S&P was at $1 million, okay? But by the end of 2009, the portfolio had lost almost $90,000, and then we take into account inflation, and this portfolio hasn't done so well. If we look at the top line, this client portfolio, they started with $1 million and ended the same time frame as the S&P is indicating here with a portfolio of nearly $1.7 million. Well, how did they do that? How did they outperform the S&P 500? Well, they had a globally diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds. They probably held anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 different stocks and 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 different bonds. There are only three things that academia and the theory and the Nobel Prize winners suggest we can control in investing, and that is cost, behavior, and diversification. The other thing they did really well is they did not get out of the stock market. They did not try to time it. They did not become fearful and worry about what was going to happen next. They let the free market economy and capitalism do its thing and make them money, make them another $700,000. In fact, their quality of life did not change. The other thing they did very well is they controlled cost. Their expense ratio of their portfolio was around 0.3, so 30 basis points. And I'm guessing, I know what funds they were using, so I'm very, very close. So it's right around that, and they might have paid anywhere from 0.5% to 1% in an advisor fee. So all in, they were right around 1%. Okay, so that's how the wealthy people manage their money, the wise, wealthy people. Okay, they're not using market neutral strategies, they're not shorting the market, they're not listening to that idiot that yells at people on TV, they're not buying, subscribing to Motley Fool's stuff, or even reading Market Watch or the Wall Street Journal. They're turning off all the noise, they're enjoying their life, and they're letting the capitalist society that we live in, capitalism, work and make them money. Hope that was helpful.